Thank you for coming to my workshop today. I am Mary Yates. New slide, please. And I live in Plano, Texas with my husband of 23 years and our 3 sons. We're in our 13th year of homeschooling, and I absolutely love visiting with homeschool families. New slide, please. And when I first spoke on the topic of organization, I was working at a big IT company for about 45 to 50 hours a week, and I had 3 little ones at home, ages 3 and under. And I thought that the difficulties of that situation were related to my circumstances. So when I quit work to stay home with my 3 littles, I was very surprised to find that the difficulties remained. And that was because their root was in disorganization and lack of systems. We would get up early to go to church in the morning, maybe get everyone dressed in the car, and then the car was maybe without gas. And then we'd have to get the kids in the truck, get the kids, and then maybe someone has a leaky diaper. And then, by the time we get everyone to the church, we're all frazzled. And I still don't know what's for lunch that day. We still have to remember to get gas sometime. I may even try to go to work the next day and, have to stop and get gas on the way to work and be late for work because it was so chaotic. Now, when you got married, your marriage vow said something about for better or for worse. And we know that there are tools and strategies you can bring into your marriage to make it better. Tools and strategies like active listening, making your spouse a priority, having empathy. Did you know that there are tools and strategies you can bring into your homeschool to bring order out of the chaos? Before we talk about that person, though, or before we talk about the strategies, I want to look at someone from the Bible. New slide, please. And that person is Noah. I want to look at his reaction and his obedience to God's directive. Do you think Noah ever felt helpless, hopeless, and overwhelmed? Oh, and let's not forget about that other one. Do you think he ever felt misunderstood? Our task to homeschool is really short compared to his task to build the ark. Genesis chapter 6, verse 9 tells us that Noah was a righteous man. He was the only blameless man walking on earth at the time, and he walked in close fellowship with God. I believe that there are 4 lessons that we can learn from Noah in Genesis chapter 5, verse 28 through 10:25. New slide, please. Number 1, obedience is a long-term commitment. Number 2, God's will, God's way, and God's timing are always perfect. And obeying less than all 3 is really disobedience. Number 3, God always makes a way. And number 4, testing is what floats your boat. New slide, please. Now, Noah was a follower of God in a completely evil world. Can you imagine how difficult that would have been? Sometimes I think that mine is the only Christian family in our neighborhood. Well, his really was. But it wasn't just the neighborhood, it was the whole world. Genesis chapter 5, verses 14 through 16 tells us that God told Noah to make a boat out of resinous wood covered with tar inside and out, with 3 decks, middle, upper, and lower, and to put stalls throughout, to make an opening around the outside, 18 inches below the roof, and to put a door on the side. To build the ark 450 feet long, 75 feet wide, and 45 feet tall. Wow, 450 feet long. That's the size of 1.5 football fields. And altogether, the ark was about the size of a 5-story building. Obedience is a long-term commitment. New slide, please. God told Noah exactly what to do, and Noah did it. Noah was a man of patience, consistency, and obedience. He was not overwhelmed by the daunting task of building such a huge structure with his hands. He just consistently kept on keeping on, hammering out those beams, one beam at a time, one nail at a time, until it was done. He was not intimidated by what the world would think. He was obedient to God, period. Can you imagine the conversation surrounding Noah? Hey, get a load of this guy. Hey, guys, look at this guy. Why in the world would anyone do anything like this? This is crazy. Do you ever get questions like that in your life? Noah consistently kept on keeping on. And that's one of the secrets to homeschooling, too. So what would have happened if Noah said, okay, God, I'll build your ark, but I'm not going to use resinous wood. It will take me 150 years. I'm going to build it out of rosebush vines, covered in tar, inside and out. Would Noah have been obedient or disobedient? He's still doing what God asked him to do, which was to build the ark. He would have been doing it his own way. So God told Noah exactly what to do to build the ark. Now, let's look and see what the Bible says about child rearing. New slide, please. Proverbs chapter 10, verse 21 says, the lips of the righteous feed many, but fools want for lack of wisdom. Homeschooling gives families a really great opportunity to teach their children wisdom. Proverbs chapter 22, verse 6 says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Deuteronomy 6, verses 6 through 8 says, and these words which I command you today shall be in your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. Teaching your children with a secular curriculum will give your children more of a secular worldview. Teaching your children with a Christian curriculum is more aligned with these verses in Deuteronomy, in my opinion. New slide, please. The Bible tells us that after 150 days, 5 months from the time that the flood began, Noah's ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. 2.5 months later, as the waters continued to go down, other mountain peaks appeared. After another 40 days, Noah released a raven and then a dove. 7 more days, Noah released another dove. So altogether, Noah was on the ark for 1 full year. What would have happened if Noah became impatient and let all the animals off the ark before the last dove came back? Before the time that God let him know that it was safe to leave. Who knows? Maybe some of the animals might have died from lack of food. We have no idea. But the point is, Noah was patient and he waited on the Lord, and the Lord took care of everything. So God's timing is perfect, but we need to be patient and wait on him. God's will is always perfect. Testing is what floats your boat. Now, even though Noah did everything that God told him to do, he didn't really know if the boat would float until it was tested. New slide, please. By homeschooling our children, we're changing our world and the nation. New homeschoolers can be overwhelmed by the daunting task of teaching their future world leaders, especially if you listen to what the professionals say. God helped Noah fulfill the task that God gave to Noah, and God will help you fulfill the task that he has given you. I love Zig Ziglar's formula. Me plus God equals enough. You plus God equals enough. Whatever God leads you to do, whatever he commands you to do, he will also equip you to do. New slide, please. So what are some of the stressors on your homeschool? Is it disorganization, lack of systems, lack of time, meals, lack of routine? Well, there are strategies and tools that you can bring into your homeschool to bring order out of the chaos. The first thing is organizing your child's study space. Wherever he's going to be doing his school, if you organize that, that will help. What happens if the child has to go searching for a science book? Let's see. Is it in the living room? No. Is it in the kitchen? No. Is it in the bathroom? No. Is it in your bedroom? No. Is it in his bedroom? Yes, it's in his bedroom. So now that he's gone through the whole house looking for his book, how do you think he feels? Really frustrated. Probably in no frame of mind to learn. There's a story from the New York Times in May 2013 entitled Brain Interrupted. It's about a study that Carnegie Mellon University did. And they had two study groups. They had two focus groups. One focus group was given a questionnaire, and they just did everything. The other focus group was interrupted, and they made 20% more mistakes. So I would think that children don't have the concentration powers that adults have. So their margin of error would probably be more than 20%. So if, according to Carnegie Mellon University study, your children could potentially make 20% fewer mistakes if they have their science book or their books, their notebooks, their lab books, their pencils, their calculators, everything that they need for class, ready for class. New slide, please. Now, when keeping up with a toddler at the same time as you homeschool can be a challenge too. Be sure to have educational toys just for school time, and you'll want to switch those out every 10 to 15 minutes. Some of the things could be like maybe crayons with scratch paper, maybe single color Play-Doh, maybe Duplo blocks, maybe the city carpet with the city streets, with the Matchbox cars. Maybe even having a computer game that works for toddlers, or even one of those motion videos for kids where they maybe they play drums or they do a dance that will help them be active and enjoyable. You can also Google toddler busy bags, and some libraries these days have toddler busy bags that you can check out. New slide, please. Really, anything that you can do to save your time is going to be a big help. Curriculum that already has your lesson plans put together is going to be a huge lifesaver. You want to be sure to stay up on your grading, stay current on your grading, because it is always easier to keep up than to catch up. You want to keep your grade books where you sit to grade. One thing that I always did was I would get one color ribbon for each grade, and I would weave the ribbon through the spiral spine of the teacher's editions. I would keep the top of the ribbon a little bit long. I would tie an Avery label to it, and then write on the label the subject. So maybe purple means that it's 6th grade. The label says that it's English. You just know, you can just pick it up off the bookshelf. You immediately know that it's 6th grade English. So that really helps to save time. You also want to keep your supplies handy. You can color code your supplies too. Another thing is keeping your calendar with a meal plan can be a lifesaver. At the end of the day, with all the things that you have to do with your kids, with doing music lessons and church and 4-H and whatever else you've got going on, the last thing that you want to be doing at 5 o'clock in the afternoon is standing in the refrigerator trying to figure out what in the world is for dinner. So if you can use your crock pot or freezer meals, a regular rotation of meals, that's going to save a lot of your time. You want to keep a running list of things you're about to run out of, like maybe laundry detergent. You want to keep track and keep stocked up. These days, some grocery stores will let you do online order with pickup. So that's going to save you a lot of time too. One thing that really surprised me was whenever I do the online ordering, I don't buy all the impulse buying. I don't have the impulse buying, so it's a win-win. Now, once your homeschool is organized, you're going to want to organize your time. There are timers that the timers will help us keep track of time, and children really need to know the boundaries of time. So whenever the timer goes off, whenever the bell rings, the children need to understand it's time to put that away and move on to the next subject. That way, at the end of the day, they may have to go back to math or something that they didn't, a subject that they didn't finish, but they may look at it in a different light because they've had this time away from it. It may be easier for them to look at that math problem at the end of the day, as opposed to just sitting there and looking at it all day. I use timers too. On my to-do list, I schedule everything out in 30-minute increments. When that timer goes off, I move on to my next thing, and then by the end of the day, I get everything done. That way I don't work on just the emergency things. I can work a little bit on everything. So while some people seem to function well with winging it, really children and adults too, we thrive with routine. So what we did was I typed up the schedule, the children's schedule, in an Excel spreadsheet. I put 5 columns on the top from Monday through Friday. And then whenever the children got done, they would mark off that they'd done it. And this gives children a really good visual to let them gauge how far along in their day they are, especially for like visual learners. And if you don't want to make copies, you can always put it in a page protector and mark off the days or the subjects with a dry erase marker, and then keep on using that same one all the time. When my kids were younger, the boys just knew that we would study Bible during breakfast. And then after that, maybe Andrew does physical science with Mr. Harmon. And maybe Caleb does American government with Mrs. Bullock online. And Joshua maybe does British literature with Miss Martini online. There were no arguments because we had established this school habit. And it takes 21 days to establish a habit. And so we've established this habit in the fall. New slide, please. Now, there has never been a better day to start a new habit, a new system, a new routine than today. Start one now. In a month, start another one. In a year, you will have established 12 new habits to help your day run more smoothly. One of my favorite poems is Robert Frost's The Road Not Taken. I shall be telling this with a sigh somewhere ages and ages hence. 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Noah took the road less traveled by when he walked in close fellowship with God. God saved mankind through Noah's obedience. By God's grace, I shall be telling this somewhere ages and ages hence. 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the road less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. And I will add, for God's glory and for our good. May God bless you in your most organized homeschool year ever.